My, female, 28, mom, female, 52, staged a home invasion, blamed me, and I just found out it was to cover her affair with my dad's friend. Longtime lurker, first-time poster. Sorry in advance for the novel this turned into. Also on mobile, so formatting might be weird. I don't know. So basically, my whole life got turned upside down about 2 months ago. My parents' house was broken into, putting that in quotes for reasons that'll become clear, while they were on a weekend trip to Colorado visiting my sister Haley. I've always been like the responsible one in my family. Like I work as a paralegal at this law firm downtown. I keep a spare key to my parents' house for emergencies. I'm the one everyone calls when something goes wrong, etc. For some background, I guess, my mom Diane, female, 52, has always been super obsessed with appearances and what people think. She's on all these charity boards and hosts these fancy dinner parties and basically knows everyone in our town, which isn't huge, by the way, like maybe 50K people. My dad Larry, male, 54, is more chill and mainly focused on his construction business that he built from nothing. Growing up, it was always about the family image with my mom. Like everything had to be perfect all the time. So my parents got back from their trip and I get this frantic call from my mom about the break-in. I rushed over there. I was in the middle of dinner with a friend, but whatever. And they told me someone had stolen my dad's old watch from his dad that he loves a lot, my mom's diamond bracelet from their 25th anniversary, and some other jewelry and stuff. The weird thing was, there was no sign of forced entry anywhere, but my spare key was just sitting there on the kitchen counter, which made literally no sense because I hadn't even been to their house in like 2 weeks before they left. But then, my mom starts suggesting to the police that I might have told questionable friends about their trip or left the key somewhere where someone could take it. I was like completely blindsided. Like, why would she immediately throw me under the bus? And what questionable friends? I barely have time for friends at all with my job, let alone questionable ones, whatever that means. The police started questioning me about where I was that night and who I hang out with and stuff. I was actually working late at the firm that night, preparing documents for this big case we had coming up. I basically have no life, lol. But I was alone in the office after hours, so I didn't really have anyone to back up my alibi. It was so humiliating. People at work started whispering, and in a town like ours, rumors spread fast. One of the partners even started locking his office when he leaves now, which he never did before. That hurt a lot, to be honest. My relationship with my mom has always been complicated, I guess. She can be really loving, but also super controlling, with very specific ideas about how a proper daughter should behave. She's always comparing me to my perfect cousin Jennifer, who's married to a doctor and has 2 kids already. Meanwhile, I'm single AF and married to my job, basically, lol. After about a week of dealing with people looking at me sideways and basically feeling like a criminal in my own town, I finally confronted my mom privately when I went over for Sunday dinner. We do family dinner most Sundays. It's like this whole thing my mom insists on, even though I'm nearly 30. I asked her why she would suggest to the police that I had something to do with this. At first, she tried to deflect, saying that wasn't exactly what she said. But I kept pushing because 2 officers specifically asked me about my untrustworthy friends. Where would they get that idea, except from her? I told her the key on the counter seemed deliberately planted, because it was, who breaks in and then leaves the key they used on the counter. And that's when she started crying, like full-on sobbing with mascara running down her face and everything. She actually admitted to staging the whole break-in, but claimed it was for this totally different reason, supposedly to cover selling the items to help my sister Haley with secret financial problems that would embarrass the family if anyone found out. She kept saying a good daughter takes the fall sometimes to protect the family and other manipulation tactics that I totally fell for at the time. I remember asking why she wouldn't just tell my dad about Haley's supposed money problems, and she told me he would be too harsh with Haley and might cut her off completely. I felt terrible, but I agreed to maintain the story, thinking I was protecting my sister. I know how stupid that sounds now, trust me. For weeks, I've been living with this lie, dealing with sideways glances and whispers. People at work still treat me differently. Even at the grocery store last week, this lady I know from my mom's church group gave me this look, like I'm some kind of criminal. It's been awful, but I kept thinking at least I'm helping my sister, who has no idea any of this is happening, by the way. Then yesterday, everything changed, and I'm still trying to process it all. I was helping my mom set up a new banking app on her phone. She's completely hopeless with technology, can barely work her email, lol, always calling me to help her attach files or whatever, when a text notification popped up from someone saved as B-Work Contact, saying they missed her. And last night was amazing. She was taking a call in another room. Convenient timing, right? And I don't know what came over me, but I looked through her messages. I know, invasion of privacy, whatever, but something felt really off, and I just had this gut feeling. What I found made me literally feel sick to my stomach. There were dozens of intimate messages with someone named Bruce, who I instantly recognized as one of my dad's business associates. They've apparently been having an affair for 2 years, and those stolen items. She actually gave them to Bruce to help with his gambling debts. Like, my dad's watch that was his father's. Who does that? The worst part was finding a text where she jokes with him about using me as the scapegoat. She was laughing about how I actually believed she did it for my sister and called me easy to predict because I'm always the responsible one. When I read that, I literally had to run to the bathroom to throw up. I can't even describe how betrayed I felt in that moment. My own mother using me like that, and then laughing about it with her affair partner, who happens to be my dad's friend. I just can't even. I'm still in shock. I feel so stupid for believing her. I'm furious that she would sacrifice my reputation in our community to cover her affair. I don't know what to do now. Thanksgiving is in a few weeks, and our whole extended family will be there. How do I sit across the table from her, knowing what she did? How do I look my dad in the eye, knowing his wife is cheating, and I'm keeping that secret? Part of me wants to blow up her whole perfect image, but another part is scared of destroying my family. Has anyone dealt with something like this before? What would you do if you were me? I'm seriously lost right now. Edit. To clarify for those asking, my sister Haley doesn't actually have financial problems as far as I know. That was just the lie my mom told me to explain the fake break-in. Haley has no idea any of this is happening. She lives in Colorado, moved there after college for a job, so she's not around much. Edit 2. A lot of people are asking why I don't just tell my dad immediately. It's complicated. My mom can be very convincing when she wants to be, clearly, since she convinced me to go along with her BS story. I need actual proof before I blow up my family. She could easily delete all those texts and deny everything and make me look even more untrustworthy than I already do because of this whole break-in thing. Edit 3. To the people suggesting I'm making this up, I wish. Trust me, I'd much rather this be some creative writing exercise than my actual life right now. Some of you have clearly never dealt with manipulative family members, and it shows. Edit 4. Someone asked about Bruce. Yes, he's married too. His wife Krista is actually really nice. I've met her at company events. They have kids in college, I think. And yes, I'm 100% sure about the affair. The texts went back months and were super explicit and included specific details about when and where they've met up. There were even photos I wish I could unsee. Edit 5. To answer everyone asking if I took screenshots, no. I didn't think of it in the moment because I was in shock, and then she came back in the room. I know, stupid move. Trust me, I'm kicking myself about it now. Now for the first update. So a lot has happened in the 3 weeks since I found those texts on my mom's phone. First of all, thank you to everyone who commented on my last post. Anyway, I've spent the last 3 weeks basically building a case like I was preparing for trial. Paralegal skills finally useful for something other than making partners rich, lol. I know, a lot of you said I should just immediately tell my dad, but I needed proof first, because my mom is basically a professional liar and would 100% turn it around on me somehow. I mean, she already convinced the whole town I'm some kind of criminal mastermind. So here's what I've been doing. And yes, it's gonna be long. Sorry in advance. 1. I went back to my parents' house for Sunday dinner. We always have to do Sunday dinner. My mom acts like missing it would literally cause the family to collapse or something, and borrowed her phone again when she was busy making dessert. I told her I needed to check an email while my phone was charging. Like, she has no problem throwing me under the bus for theft, but doesn't even think twice about letting me use her phone. Anyway, I took screenshots of basically everything between her and B-Work Contact, also known as Bruce, and sent them to myself. There were messages going back months. Some of them made me literally want to throw up. Like there's one where they're joking about how my dad is working late again and has no idea she's sending. Ugh, nope, can't even type it out. 2. I went through her email. I was helping her organize her inbox because she's so bad with technology. Found hotel receipts from this place like 20 miles away. Every Tuesday for the past 2 years. 2 years! And then I found credit card statements showing charges at the hotel restaurant too. Like they were having romantic dinners while my dad was working himself to death to provide for our family. I always thought he was working so hard because he was dedicated to us. Turns out he was just creating the perfect opportunity for my mom to cheat. It makes me sick. 3. I talked to our neighbor Alfred, male, 67, who lives across the street. Turns out he has a security camera that points at our driveway, and guess what? He has footage of Bruce coming to the house during the exact time frame of the break-in. Alfred said he thought Bruce was there for something related to my dad's business, which is why he never mentioned it before. I asked if I could have a copy of the footage, and he was happy to help after I explained everything. He seemed really sad about it all and kept saying, "Your poor father." 4. I went to Bruce's office pretending I needed advice on a birthday gift for my dad. His birthday is next month. I recorded the whole conversation on my phone. Legal in our state, by the way. Only need one-party consent. I casually mentioned how upset my dad was about losing his father's watch in the break-in, and Bruce got all weird and uncomfortable. Then I said something like, "It's crazy, they never found who took it." And he literally said, "Sometimes things just disappear," while touching his wrist where he was wearing what looked like a new watch. I didn't see it clearly, but I'm like 99% sure it's my dad's. Who does that? 5. Oh, and I went to the police station with some of my evidence. Not all of it, just to clear my name officially. The officer who questioned me before was there, and he was so awkward when I showed him the texts and security footage. He kept apologizing for jumping to conclusions, but the damage is already done. People still look at me weird at work. That partner is still locking his office when he leaves, even though everyone knows now I didn't do anything. Thanks, Mom. I guess I should mention, this isn't the first time I've taken the fall for my mom. When I was in high school, she was supposed to pick up my grandmother, her mom, from a doctor's appointment, but completely forgot because she was shopping for some fancy dinner party she was hosting. My grandma was stuck waiting for 3 hours and was really upset. When my dad found out, my mom told him I was supposed to pick grandma up and flaked. I got grounded for a month and had to write my grandma this huge apology letter, and I just went along with it, because that's what I always do. I'm the responsible one who fixes everything. My mom's been using that against me my whole life. To those who asked in my last post if I've ever stood up to my mom before, no, not really. I've always been the peacekeeper, which I'm realizing now is probably why she thought I'd be the perfect scapegoat for her affair. She knew I'd just take it. So about Thanksgiving, it's this Thursday, and we always have this big elaborate thing at my parents' house. My mom invites the whole extended family, plus random neighbors and friends, and it's this whole production where she gets to show off her perfect family, her words. And guess who's coming this year? Bruce and his wife, Krista. My mom actually invited them before all this happened, and apparently hasn't uninvited them. I called my sister Haley and basically begged her to fly in from Colorado for Thanksgiving, even though she wasn't planning to come this year. I didn't tell her why, just said it was really important and I needed her here. She kept asking if someone was dying or something, and I just couldn't tell her over the phone. She needs to hear this in person. I know that's kind of manipulative of me, but I didn't know what else to do. She'll be here Wednesday night. I've literally made a whole presentation with all the evidence. I have it organized chronologically on my laptop with screenshots, the security footage, the receipts, everything. I even asked Alfred if he'd come to Thanksgiving dinner. My parents always invite neighbors anyway, so it's not weird. So he can back me up about the security camera footage. Honestly, I go back and forth between being absolutely determined to expose everything, and then having these moments where I'm like, am I really about to blow up my entire family at Thanksgiving dinner? But then I remember those texts where my mom was literally laughing about using me as the scapegoat, calling me easy to predict and always the responsible one, and I get so angry I can barely see straight. I don't want to destroy my family, but I can't live with this lie anymore, especially when I'm the one paying the price for my mom's cheating. Why should I protect someone who clearly doesn't care about protecting me? So yesterday, my mom called asking for help with Thanksgiving prep. The conversation was so weird and uncomfortable. She told me to come early to help with the turkey, and when I mentioned inviting Alfred, she got suspicious and said there wouldn't be room at the table. I told her we could make room since he was feeling lonely after his wife passed. She reluctantly agreed, but then asked if everything was okay between us because I've seemed distant. I just blamed work stress. Then she started talking about family loyalty and how we protect each other. I agreed, even though it made me feel sick. She ended by saying she's lucky to have such an understanding daughter, which nearly made me lose it. This past week, she's been calling me constantly with these weird reinforcement conversations about how blood is thicker than water, and families have to stick together through everything. It's like she knows something's up, but can't figure out what. She's always been able to read me pretty well, which is making this whole thing even harder. I talked to my dad yesterday too, and he mentioned how stressed mom seems lately. He thinks it might be empty nest syndrome. Now that both Haley and I are living our own lives, if he only knew the real reason, my heart breaks for him. He works so hard and has no idea his wife is cheating with his friend and gave away his father's watch. I've booked a hotel room for Thursday night for me and Haley because I'm pretty sure neither of us is going to want to stay at the house after everything comes out. I've practiced what I'm going to say like a dozen times in front of my mirror. I'm trying to stay calm and factual instead of emotional, but it's really hard. Sometimes I wonder if doing this at Thanksgiving dinner is too harsh. Maybe I should just tell my dad privately. But then I think about how my mom has been parading me around town as the family disappointment for months now, letting everyone think I'm a thief or that I have shady friends who rob houses. And I think about Bruce sitting at our dinner table wearing my dad's watch and laughing behind his back. And I think, no, they don't deserve privacy or mercy or whatever. Haley gets in tonight, and I'm picking her up from the airport. Then we're all having dinner at my parents' house. I'm so nervous, I can barely eat or sleep. My mom keeps watching me with this suspicious look, like she's trying to figure out what I'm up to. I caught her looking through my purse yesterday when she thought I was in the bathroom. By this time tomorrow, everything will be different. My family will never be the same. Part of me is terrified about what's going to happen, but another part just wants the truth to finally come out. I'm so tired of carrying this secret. Edit. To clarify for those asking, yes, Bruce is still married to Krista. They've been married for like 20 plus years and have 2 kids in college. Krista has always been super nice to me. She brings homemade cookies to every company event and volunteers at the animal shelter. She has no idea about the affair as far as I can tell. I feel awful for her. Edit 2. Several people have asked if I'm afraid my mom will delete the evidence before Thursday. I've backed everything up in multiple places. I have the screenshots and hotel receipts saved to my phone, my laptop, my work computer, and a USB drive. The security footage is saved in all those places too. And Alfred still has the original. I'm not taking any chances. Edit 3. To the person who asked if I've thought about how this will affect my job, yes, constantly. My boss actually pulled me aside last week and told me he knows I had nothing to do with the break-in. Apparently word got around after I went to the police station. He said he never believed it anyway because I'm too straight-laced to be involved in something like that. Not sure if that's a compliment, but I'll take it, I guess. Now for the second update. It's been about a month since everything went down at Thanksgiving, and honestly, I'm still trying to process it all. So Thanksgiving morning, I got to my parents' house super early, like 7 a.m., to help with preparations. My mom was already running around the kitchen in this frantic state, checking her phone like every 5 minutes and basically jumping out of her skin whenever the doorbell rang. Looking back, it's so obvious she was nervous about what was coming. But at the time, I just thought it was her usual Thanksgiving stress. She always gets worked up about these big family gatherings. My sister Haley showed up around 9 a.m. She stayed at my apartment after I picked her up from the airport. I still hadn't told her anything about what was going on. I know that was probably unfair, but I just couldn't figure out how to explain it all before everything went down. She kept pulling me aside, asking what was going on and why I made her fly back for this. I kept telling her she'd find out at dinner and to just trust me. She was getting really annoyed, but I just couldn't get into it while we were prepping food, and my mom was hovering around. My mom kept giving me these weird looks all morning, like she knew something was up but couldn't figure out what. She kept trying to get me alone to talk, but I made sure to stay with Haley or my dad the whole time. At one point, she literally cornered me in the pantry and asked if everything was okay with us. I just mumbled something about being stressed about work and escaped. My heart was basically in my throat the entire morning. Oh, and my mom has this thing where we have to use my great-grandmother's china for Thanksgiving dinner, even though it's super impractical, can't go in the dishwasher, chips easily, etc. Every year, she makes this huge deal about carefully taking it out of the special cabinet where it's kept all year. When I was helping her set the table, she started going on about family traditions and honoring our heritage, and I just wanted to scream. Like she cares so much about these stupid plates, but has no problem throwing her own daughter under the bus to cover her affair. The hypocrisy was unreal. Another tradition my mom started when we were kids is going around the table before eating and saying what we're thankful for. I always hated it because it felt so fake, especially when we had guests. My mom would always go first with some speech about family being the most important thing in her life, lol, and then give these meaningful looks at me and Haley when it was our turn, like prompting us to say the right thing. It was all about showcasing the perfect family to whoever was there. Anyway, guests started arriving around 3 p.m. First came my mom's sister Suzanne and her husband Tom, then my dad's brother Jack and his wife and kids, then a few neighbors, including Alfred, the one with the security camera. Alfred gave me this little nod when he came in, and I could see my mom watching our interaction with this weird intensity. She definitely suspected something was up with him being there. And then, Bruce and his wife Krista showed up. The look on Bruce's face when he saw me standing in the entryway was priceless. Like he literally stopped in his tracks. I made a point of greeting him super warmly and mentioning our chat about Dad's watch. My mom nearly dropped the serving dish she was carrying when she heard that. Krista was her usual sweet self, complimenting the decorations and handing my mom a bottle of wine. She had no idea what was about to happen. Once everyone was seated around the table, there were like 16 people total, my mom stood up to make her traditional toast. She was holding her wine glass, but I could see her hand shaking a little. She went on about family loyalty and how nothing is more important than the bonds we share and other BS. I remember staring at her thinking, how can she stand there and say these things with a straight face after what she did to me? My heart was literally pounding so hard I could feel it in my ears. My mouth was completely dry. My hands were shaking under the table. Part of me was like, maybe I shouldn't do this. Maybe I should just talk to my dad privately later. I mean, I didn't want to destroy my family. I just wanted the truth to come out. But then I remembered those texts where my mom laughed about using me as the scapegoat and all the whispers and sideways glances I've been dealing with for months, and I knew I had to go through with it. So after my mom finished her toast, but before anyone could start eating, I stood up and told everyone there was something they needed to know. The room got super quiet. My mom immediately tried to interrupt me, saying this wasn't the appropriate time, but my dad asked what was going on. I walked over to the living room, which is connected to the dining area in my parents' house, and connected my laptop to the TV. I told everyone this concerned all of them, and I could see my mom's face change as she suddenly realized what was happening. I started with Alfred's security camera footage showing Bruce entering the house during the break-in. There were literal gasps around the table as Bruce was clearly identifiable. My mom jumped up and tried to turn off the TV, claiming I was having emotional problems, but my dad made her sit back down and told me to continue. His face showed confusion, turning to suspicion. Next, I played the recorded conversation with Bruce, where he mentioned receiving the watch. Krista turned to him in shock and asked about the Rolex. I felt terrible about how she found out. Then, I displayed the text messages and hotel receipts on the screen, including the one where my mom jokes about using me as the scapegoat. I specifically highlighted that one and read it out loud about how I was so easy to predict and always the responsible one cleaning up everyone's messes. My dad looked sick when I showed a photo from Bruce's Instagram, where he was wearing what was clearly my grandfather's watch. My dad recognized it immediately. What happened next was absolute chaos. Everyone started talking at once. My dad just sat there completely silent, staring at my mom with this look I've never seen before. Bruce tried to leave with Krista, who was crying and yelling at him. My Aunt Suzanne kept asking my mom how she could do this. The neighbors were all awkwardly looking at each other, trying to decide whether to stay or go. My mom tried everything to salvage the situation. First, she tried to say I was exaggerating things out of daughterly jealousy, whatever that means. Then when that clearly wasn't working, she broke down crying and begging for understanding. She kept saying everything she did was to protect the family. Protect from what exactly? Her own consequences. My dad finally spoke, and it was terrifying how calm he was. He told my mom to leave because he couldn't even look at her. She started crying harder and turned to me, asking how I could do this to my own mother after everything she'd done for me. I remember feeling weirdly calm at that moment. I told her the question was, how could she do this to me, letting everyone believe I was involved in a crime, ruining my reputation and making me carry her guilt because it was convenient for her. I said that's not what mothers do. Haley had been completely silent this whole time, just staring open-mouthed at the evidence on the screen. She finally stood up and came over to hug me, apologizing for having doubts about my innocence when she first heard about the break-in. That made me cry for the first time during this whole thing. My Uncle Jack asked Alfred if the security footage was authentic, and Alfred confirmed it, explaining he had originally thought Bruce was there on legitimate business related to my dad's construction company, which is why he never mentioned seeing him until I asked specifically about that day. Before my mom left, my Aunt Suzanne reluctantly agreed to let her stay with them. She made one final desperate plea about how everything she did was to protect the family and that this would destroy us all. I told her everything she did was to protect herself, and the only thing destroyed was the lie she'd been living. The aftermath has been intense. My mom stayed with Suzanne for a few days, but apparently they had a huge fight, and now she's staying with some friend from her charity board, though from what I hear, not many of those friends want anything to do with her now. Krista filed for divorce literally the next day after discovering the full extent of the affair. My dad filed the following week and asked me to help him understand the digital evidence for his lawyer. Thank God for my paralegal skills, I guess. All those community boards and charity organizations my mom was so proud of being part of, they've been quietly asking her to step down to avoid bad publicity. Turns out, rich people don't like scandal touching their precious foundations. The long-term consequences keep unfolding. My mom is apparently in financial panic mode, as the divorce is revealing not just the affair, but also that she used joint accounts to buy gifts for Bruce over the years. She's been showing up unannounced at family members' homes trying to plead her case, but nobody's really buying it. And the messages? God, the messages. She texts everyone in the family daily, begging us not to cut her off. Here's her most recent text to me. A mother sacrifices everything for her children. Now I need you to forgive me for everyone's sake. Your father is being unreasonable about the divorce settlement, and I might lose everything. Please talk to him. He'll listen to you. Like, is she serious? After everything she's done, she's still trying to manipulate me. My dad, Haley, and I are slowly healing. We've decided to have Christmas at my apartment this year, since none of us can face celebrating at the family home with all its memories. My relationship with my dad has actually gotten stronger through all this. He keeps apologizing for not seeing what was happening, which breaks my heart because none of this is his fault. I still have really complicated feelings about my mom, mostly anger at the betrayal, but sometimes these random pangs of guilt and sadness hit me for the relationship we used to have, or thought we had, I guess. The other day I found this photo of us from when I was like 8, and we were baking cookies together and both covered in flour, and I just sat on my kitchen floor and cried for an hour. It's like I'm grieving the mother I thought I had. I didn't want revenge. I just wanted the truth. The difference is that revenge would have made me like her, willing to hurt others to protect myself. But the truth has set me free from carrying her lies, even if it's broken our family in the process. And when she texts me saying I should take the fall like a good daughter, I finally have the strength to tell her that a good mother would never ask that of her child. Edit. A lot of people are asking if I regret doing this at Thanksgiving in front of everyone. Honestly, no. If I had told my dad privately, my mom would have found a way to spin it. She needed to be confronted with all the evidence in front of everyone, so she couldn't lie her way out of it. Was it messy? Yes, but so was letting the whole town think I was involved in a robbery for months. Edit 2. To those asking about Bruce, his life is basically imploding. Krista kicked him out immediately, and he's staying in some extended stay hotel. He tried to contact my dad to talk, but my dad blocked his number. Bruce's business is suffering too because a lot of their clients were mutual with my dad. And yes, Krista got the watch back. My dad didn't even want to see it again after everything. Edit 3. Some of you have asked if I'm in therapy after all this. Yes, I started seeing someone last week. It's helping a lot, actually. Turns out, having your mother betray you and lie to you for months leaves some emotional scars. Who knew?